Hi, this is Alessio. Hope you're well. In this video, we're going to take a look at this chart of Bitcoin. It's the long-term chart of Bitcoin, and I'm going to explain to you what this chart is likely telling us. In fact, I'm going to explain to you why the fact that Bitcoin is still below its 21 weekly average is a very important sign. We should pay attention to it. Let's talk about that. Join me. All right, guys, welcome back. Before we talk about Bitcoin, let me just tell you briefly where I am. Today, I'm speaking to you from Florida in the United States. In fact, I flew to Orlando just a few days ago. By the way, an amazing view of Orlando from the plane, as you can see here. And actually, where I am right now is called the Palm Coast. It's not far away from Daytona or Daytona Beach. I'm sure you've probably heard of Daytona NASCAR, so that's not far from here. All right, guys, let's talk about Bitcoin now. So really what I want to talk to you about in this particular video is about a very important chart of Bitcoin, and that's on the weekly time frame. Now, you've probably heard me mention the weekly chart of Bitcoin before. You may remember a video I made about this just a few weeks ago. And you may recall about 3 weeks ago, the price of Bitcoin plunged and dropped below the weekly 21 EMA and also dropped below the 50K, the 50,000 key psychological support level. By the way, I should also mention that the weekly chart of Bitcoin and the weekly 21 EMA is a chart time frame that few people actually pay attention to. The majority of folks seem to be focused mostly on the daily charts or the lower time frame charts. It seems very few people actually pay attention to the higher time frame charts, and that's why I want to bring your attention to it in this particular video. And here's what's interesting about it. About 3 weeks ago, as I mentioned, price of Bitcoin plunged below 50K, which, by the way, was not a move I was anticipating. It was not a move that I was expecting was going to happen. It made a spike low. You can see a spike move below the 200 moving average, and then quickly bounced back up. It made a quick recovery bounce. And to be honest with you, I thought, you know what, that could probably be capitulation. Because usually when Bitcoin in the past has done this, when Bitcoin has done this kind of moves, these kind of spike, very volatile moves below support level, and then when it quickly bounces back up, recovers, usually that signals some kind of capitulation or a bottom in the price. However, guys, as I mentioned in the previous video, we need to wait for confirmation, because it's not enough to say, well, okay, we got capitulation and that's it, because you still need to see confirmation. Confirmation would come only if the price gets above resistance. For example, key resistance at the 21 weekly EMA, the blue line you see on the chart there. Now, here's the thing, guys. I have to be honest, I'm quite surprised that Bitcoin has not managed yet to recover and get back above the 21 weekly EMA. It's been now 3 weeks. I mean, listen, I know you're probably thinking, well, so what? What does it matter? Well, it matters because if you look at previous bull market trends in Bitcoin, actually in most markets, not just Bitcoin, but also the stock markets, in a healthy uptrend, in a healthy bull market, when the price drops below the weekly 21 EMA, it manages to quickly recover and get back above it very soon, usually within a week or two, but not this long, okay? In fact, if you look at the previous trends in Bitcoin, for example, the bullish uptrend from 2015 to 2017, and even in previous uptrends in Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin didn't stay too long below the 21 weekly average in a healthy uptrend continuation. So what I'm saying is when the price of Bitcoin pulls back to the 21 weekly EMA, as you can see here on the chart, it usually manages to recover, bounce back quite quickly. Even when Bitcoin fell directly below the 21 weekly average, it did manage to recover very quickly and go back above it, usually within a week or a weekly bar, for example. It didn't stay too long below that level. And that is a concern now, because you will note that Bitcoin now has been below the 21 weekly average now for how long? 3 weeks now. I think I'm counting now 3 weeks since the end of November now. I mean, we're now almost in the middle or towards the end of December as I'm making this video. And yeah, Bitcoin is still below its weekly 21 EMA, and it's also below the resistance high that it made there. Approximately, we're talking about the resistance at 51,200 or 51,500 there. So I know you're probably thinking, well, what does it mean? I gotta be honest with you guys. From experience and looking at this statistically and historically, this is not a good sign for Bitcoin. It's not a sign of strength for Bitcoin. So in a strong bullish market, Bitcoin would have recovered by now and would have closed back above the 21 weekly EMA by now. I mean, it's been a few weeks now. So to be honest, this is not giving me a lot of confidence right now about the bullish uptrend on Bitcoin. This is actually a sign of weakness in my view. The fact that Bitcoin has not managed yet to get above resistance, get above the 21 weekly EMA on the chart there. However, I'm not going to get bearish either. Why? Because we're still above support. So I don't want to get too bearish at the moment in this video because, again, Bitcoin is still above support, above the low that it made after the drop, which was approximately just under 42,000. I think it was 41,900, something like that. But also, we're still above the September lows as well. I mentioned in the previous video the key support is at 41K, just near the September lows there, okay? We're still above that support. So I cannot say I'm bearish on Bitcoin unless we break below that level. What I am saying is the fact that Bitcoin has spent such a long time now, at least more than a week, more than 2 weeks now, below the 21 weekly MA, that blue line on the chart. Again, approximately we're talking about 51,200 level. So the fact that Bitcoin is still below that level and hasn't managed to recover, get back above it, that's a sign of weakness. Statistically speaking, looking back from experience in the past, usually when Bitcoin has done something like this, when it has fallen below the 21 weekly EMA and then not managed to recover quickly, get back above the 21 weekly EMA, that's been a negative sign in the past. For example, in 2017, I would say also perhaps in the year 2018. Usually when Bitcoin does not manage to recover quickly and get back above its 21 weekly EMA after falling below it, it's not a good sign. It's a sign of weakness. You might remember from a video I made back in May where I explained what a bear market actually is. There are two things we look for a bear market. By the way, I'm not saying we are in a bear market, I'm just saying these are the criteria for a bear market, which is firstly a break of market structure. Now, we have not yet broken market structure. I mentioned in the previous video that the structural key level on Bitcoin is at 41K approximately, 41K, 40K. So if Bitcoin were to drop below, I'm not saying it's going to it, if Bitcoin were to drop and close below the structural support at 41K or 40K approximately there, then that would actually put us into a bear market, likely in a bear market on Bitcoin, if that actually happens. Now, there's also another criteria for a bear market, which is when rallies to resistance fail. So when you see a rally back to resistance, and when that fails, when price drops back down again, when price gets rejected, that is also a negative sign. It's usually a sign of a potential bear market, although I still would wait for a break of structure to confirm that. So guys, keeping it simple and just keeping it short, again, I'm not saying we are at the moment in a bear market. What I am saying is watch that level at 41K, 40K very carefully, because if Bitcoin cannot recover quickly, I mean, I would say it's not looking good right now anyway, because Bitcoin still has not managed to get above the 21 weekly MA. But look, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to say this: if Bitcoin does not manage by the end of this week to get above the 21 weekly MA, it's a really bad sign. I mean, it's already been 3 weeks, it's not managed to recover yet. But again, so watch those key levels. Watch the 21 weekly MA, 51,000, approximately 51,200 or 51,500. If Bitcoin manages by the end of this week to get above that level and close above that level, then great. I mean, I think that if Bitcoin manages to get above the weekly 21 EMA, that would be a powerful sign for Bitcoin, and it could potentially indicate that we're resuming the uptrend towards 80K and potentially even 100K by next year, potentially by the end of next year. But on one condition, on the condition that Bitcoin does not fall below 41K, because if Bitcoin breaks structure, if it breaks support 41K or 40K level, the September lows, then guys, forget it. I think that could be a devastating sign for Bitcoin, and that could potentially put us into a bear market. And indeed, it could increase risk to the downside if that actually happens. Listen guys, listen, I personally would like to see Bitcoin breaking resistance. I would like to see it breaking that weekly 21 EMA and pushing us back into an uptrend continuation. That's what I would like to see. I would prefer to see that. But that's something we have to wait and see. Personally, I think the way things are going right now, it's not looking that good. But we shall have to wait and see. All right, guys, I hope this video helps. So from Florida in the US, have a fantastic week. Bye for now.